Jess Muldoon, Group Vice President of Corporate Media at Finn, talks to host Doug Simon on PR's Top Pros Talk.
What's the top indicator that a brand or organization should really consider a thought leadership strategy?
So, a brand or organization should really think about a thought leadership strategy as a core part of an integrated PR program. And what I mean by that is really thinking about how they want to communicate their vision and their unique value proposition and connect that back to key moments in time throughout the year to really make this a long term commitment for their organization and their leadership.
So, how do you go about doing that? Where do you start? Let's say if you think, okay, we should use thought leadership and expand our thought leadership in our space, what are some of the first steps to get started?
For any organization, no matter whether they're just starting out or they've been in their industry for 20 plus years, is really identifying what is the core mission and vision that they want to get across and what is unique to what they're doing and how they're going about it and achieving it. And then using their CEO voice to really get that across and humanize it. Because a good thought leadership strategy will not only help build awareness and establish credibility in their area of expertise, but it also goes a really long way in making their brand and organization feel connected on a personal level to their target audiences and really bring that human element to life with their leadership and with their leadership's vision. So overwhelmingly, actually, executives realize the importance of thought leadership, but they struggle with identifying how to really own that distinct point of view or area where they can really break through and have fresh insights to offer. There was actually a great Harris poll on this. It was called the ROI of thought leadership, and 9 in 10 executives do recognize that thought leadership is very critical to their growth strategy, but only 20% feel that they're doing this effectively.
So, you mentioned that huge difference. Overwhelmingly, the leadership realizes thought leadership is important, but only 20% are doing that. Obviously, that might be good for your business growth. But in addition to that, what are some of maybe the first steps they should take to try and get on track to building a thought leadership program that will benefit their business?
Sure. So we work with a lot of CEOs at Finn to help achieve just this. And what we like to do is start by having like a deep dive story mining session with the CEO and understanding what are the unique anecdotes or proof points that really bring to life their unique leadership approach and style and what they want to achieve with their vision that connects back to their business objectives and their strategy and how that's going to get across and really break through the noise with the media and offer a unique insight that is something bold and different from what the media has heard before, because that's at the end of the day what people are going to remember about them, about their brand, and really make them, who they are and help, create an authentic version of themselves externally. So, like with one company we recently started working with, actually, for example, they're an AI startup. Now, AI is everywhere. It's become a very hard market and topic to break through with all of the media coverage. And it's no longer enough to just talk about how AI is transforming the future of work, because we know that's a given and it's become a bit obvious. So we're helping this CEO, she's a female founder of an AI startup, uncover what's unique about her leadership style, her personal journey getting to where she is now, and what makes her company unique. So they're a mobile-first AI-powered app, and we've been helping get across a story about how this is a unique offering for their customers and the businesses that they serve, and how her personal story really resonates because she had a former job where she realized how AI could disrupt her own role, and that really inspired her to go and create her own company. So it's the personal elements like that that we really, and her leadership style, that we like to marry with the company's vision and objectives, which in her case is really to democratize AI and make it accessible with an easy to use mobile app.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because we're actually seeing in the satellite media tour world and TV news world that we live in, there's a lot of interest from the stations. If you can give them a story about AI where the people can actually articulate what that might mean to them and how it's changing and things they need to know, that's been a big piece. How do you see the media landscape evolving?
Well, the media landscape is evolving at a rapid pace right now, and it's becoming more splintered, where there are more niche platforms. It's becoming more crowded, where you still have your traditional print, online, broadcast outlets and stations that will always remain important and relevant and are table stakes to reach. But it's also important to consider how there's become a rise in journalists as their own brands and stars, and they have great influence and reach with audiences that follow their coverage and content specifically, compared to just the outlet as a whole that they may work for. So they're coming out with their own newsletters that are helping create a big subscriber base and following, and people are really going to them for their authoritative voice and expertise on the topics that they cover, whether that's tech and innovation or startups and healthcare. So it's all about understanding where the journalists are reporting and also how people are getting their news. Because back to this idea of how, and reality that there are more platforms between print, online, and now digital, and people getting their news from social media. You've got younger generations like Gen Z getting their news from TikTok. A lot of people go to LinkedIn for updates, or
Yeah.
Twitter or X. So it's all about understanding where a business's target audience is getting their news and how that will then inform your strategy to take a focus on local media, trade media, top tier, going after reporters who are now have their own podcasts or digital series on their own LinkedIn or TikTok, and really making sure that you're also establishing strong relationships with these reporters, because even though the platforms are becoming more crowded and niche, traditional newsrooms are shrinking, and reporters are being expected to do more with less. So it's all about having a compelling subject line in your pitch, and short and sweet pitch that's really going to get across the unique insight or perspective of the CEO or thought leader that you're working with, to create a case for a compelling story, and then also working with these reporters and establishing relationships with them, so that they can come to you and start seeing you as a source that can help connect them to the experts on the subject or story that they're trying to tell.
What's interesting is one way they're adjusting to, at least in the TV broadcast world, is actually increasing the hours of content that the same number of people produce so they can get a better return on investment. In the last 10 years, Spanish language local news has doubled. English language has increased by 30 to 40%, and you'd think it would be much less. What are you seeing in terms of owned content? If you look at the peso model, it seems like the owned content is a great opportunity for thought leadership, whether it's information that's being put out, whether it's interviews that are being conducted, somewhat like this show, and hopefully this will expand your thought leadership play. What's your take on how the owned model can also be an effective spot for increasing thought leadership?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that, Doug, because owned is essential for an organization where no longer is it enough to just rely on earned media to get across your communications objectives and goals and key messages. It really goes hand in hand, and you need to have a strategy that factors in earned, owned, and even paid where it makes sense, based on your business needs and campaigns or
Sure.
stories you may be trying to get across. So anytime that an organization does secure a great media win with an earned placement, it's essential to amplify that story on your own channels. And that goes for both the organization's channels as well as their executives. So usually what we like to do when we're working with clients on their media strategy and thought leadership strategy, we'll often work with them to, first identify what's the media story we want to tell and who are the media that we want to work with on these stories, and land online, print, broadcast stories, but then share that with your networks. And that helps broaden the reach. It helps get your own message across with social media posts, and also internally, highlighting those wins,
Right.
because employees equally are such an important stakeholder to organizations that it's really essential to be thinking from all facets and levels to get the story across, and really make a connected, concerted effort to promote the story across earned and owned channels.
Yeah, and with your experience and success, I'm probably going to place the bar really high on how you're going to help put a megaphone to this conversation. Any last thoughts you want to add before we end?
As the landscape is continuing to evolve from both an earned media perspective and thought leadership perspective, really just having an always on approach and mindset to seek out opportunities for proactive content, for thought leadership that ties back to the brand's core values, and something that will help break through the noise for them. So anytime that you're able to, outside of just like upcoming milestones or key business news for a company or organization, take an always on approach to always look out for opportunities where you can help insert a CEO or their thought leadership team into the narrative and into larger news trends and opportunities where they can break through and provide their unique perspective in a compelling way that's also very authentic to who they are.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being part of the show.
Thanks, Doc. It was great speaking with you.